I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming in on such a beautiful morning.
Top 10 day, they said.
Yeah, super nice out. So there's a consent agenda.
I'll move that for you.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? It's like, just the minutes from last week. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, so first on our agenda, we have a 10 a.m. public hearing. Engineer John Rasmussen. It's on the proposed specifications, form of contract, and total estimate costs for the proposed Hancock Roads Maintenance Facility. And to approve and sign Resolution 73-2020, resolution adopting plans, specification, form of contract, and estimate costs for the Hancock property. Hancock, Potawatomi County Secondary Road Shop Public Improvement Project, and setting bid opening for the construction at 10 a.m. on September 15th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Chairman Schultz,
Aye.
Supervisors Groby,
Aye.
Wickman,
Aye.
Drake,
Aye.
Milt.
Aye.
Okay, were there any comments from the public on this one? Were there any written or oral comments filed to the auditor's office?
Nope, didn't see any.
Okay. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, roll call.
Chairman Schultz,
Aye.
Supervisors Groby,
Aye.
Wickman,
Aye.
Drake,
Aye.
Milt.
Aye.
Okay, the motion to approve resolution.
Johnny, do you
Yeah,
want
go ahead, you wanna,
I came prepared to. Brian Zimmer is the architect on the project. He just has some plan views. I don't know that we prepared a presentation as much as just being prepared to answer any questions the public may have.
We started in what, 2018 with this
Yes.
project? And then, did it get somewhat tweaked down then, or, this original layout was different than what we ended up finally with? Is that accurate?
We have changed dimensions on there. When we went with the employees, they wanted deeper bays and wider bays. I guess we can use one door and park two pieces of equipment in it. So that was some of the gains they wanted, plus being able to keep the sanders inside, which helps us on our electrical and hydraulic issues.
And everything is gonna be back in, back out, right?
Yes.
And no, there's really like no access out the back of the building or any other than,
That's correct.
is that kind of a normal situation? If something happens in there, they can't, there's only one way in, one way out, kinda?
It's pretty normal.
Okay.
John, what about water? Will you have water?
Yes, we'll be getting water from the city of Hancock and sewer as well.
Oh, you'll be hooked up to the city. Oh, okay.
They get theirs from Oakland.
Oh.
is that the drawing layout right there?
This is the site plan.
Okay.
I'll give you an idea of the orientation. This is Highway 59. The building's there,
Right.
pad, drive.
Is there a use of natural light for that at all, for that shop at all? I mean, it's kinda not my forte, but I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Natural light.
natural light getting into the,
Yeah, we have windows on the whole back of the building. Natural light in here. And then we have windows in all the doors, so it's gonna get quite a bit of natural light.
And,
Is it gonna be offices in there?
No, I think there's five,
the height
seven
of
or
those.
seven.
oh,
You gonna have any offices in
Thank
there?
What would the height would be?
Not necessarily office. There'll be
Six to
like a
12.
break room
Bottom,
and
so it's
restrooms and
really
stuff, but not an
for
office.
vandalism.
Yeah, you would have to have a ladder.
I thought you were gonna move some engineers out there.
No, we're just moving, it'd just be truck drivers and graders and stuff.
Then in the break, we have a break area, and nice windows in the break area as well. And there's a storm shelter as well. Well,
like built in, or is it, you gotta leave the building and get to it?
It's inside. It's actually the shower room, shower and restrooms. They're just hardened, so.
What's the overall engineer cost for the whole project?
Our construction estimate came up to be $2,147,870.
2.147?
Yep.
That does not include, the land or the engineer fees, I don't believe, does it?
No, it does not.
So you're around 2.5 already. Assuming where bids come in. And then, we are, as a public entity, we have rules that we have to follow for bidding, which makes it pretty challenging, as John and I talked about, that we're not allowed to do some other things that you would be able to do if you weren't a public entity, as far as, bid, design and build, and that type of thing, so we'll have to see what the landscape looks like for bidding and such. Does this, and I didn't go through the whole deal, but are there any things that we're doing that are ancillary to the, I don't know if you call this a shop or a garage or whatever, are we putting fuel out there? Are we doing anything with fuel out there?
Yes, we'll either have to use our fuel cards or build a fuel station.
Pardon?
We'll either have to use our cards in fuel in town or put a fuel station out there. I've been trying to get away from owning fuel tanks.
Okay.
The paperwork's,
Because there was fuel it used to be fuel at all of them at one point back in the day, right?
right.
And then, is it just one fuel that they use? Are they all diesel? Is everything diesel?
We have gasoline in a few shops, yeah, but gasoline's, I don't think I'd replace the gasoline tank at this point because most people are out and can get it anywhere and we have fleet cards. But yeah, we are speccing one fuel.
All the bigger stuff's all diesel.
Yeah, then we're pretty tight on that spec, so we have talked to Farm Service about providing a tank, and they might just provide the tank if we're buying the fuel sort of deal, but haven't got that worked out yet.
And then those, I don't know what you guys call those domes or whatever for
Salts.
materials and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. We currently have salt and sand in Avoca, so we'd move that pile here so the trucks can start their day with the salt and sand.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't run any trucks out of Avoca now, but that's where we have our salt and sand.
Okay.
So it's kind of
That's a little
it's
bit,
odd, yeah.
Because I think the original plan, if I remember right, was it 9 days? Are we down to, what are we down to now?
7 now.
7.
I think we're 9, but they weren't as deep.
Oh, is that what the
And
deal was?
They weren't as wide either.
Okay.
I think our square footage went up, but with less doors.
The square footage went up about 15% or so.
I think it really comes down to that column spacing. I think I had the columns tighter when I was first starting on it. And we got to talking with the employees, and they'd rather just have one big door, you can park 2 vehicles side by side, if the bay is deep enough to get in. So that was our preference, and I think from a heating and cooling, well, I guess we don't cool it, but a heating standpoint, and just maintenance on those doors, that sounded great to us too.
How big an approach does the state issue you the approach for that then?
Driveway?
Yeah, driveway approach, whatever.
It's not a restricted access there, so we have an existing driveway, and they said it was fine to upgrade.
You have an existing driveway there?
Yeah, we're gonna move it south just a little bit.
You mean it's
Farm entrance.
Oh, farm entrance.
Yeah.
Is that all they give you for entrance? Is a farm entrance?
Oh, we're gonna reconstruct it as part of this project, but yeah, we're permitted for an entrance now.
Okay. And can you get a pretty wide one then, or not?
Yeah, we're gonna put a 30-foot.
Yeah.
All this was designed to turn a semi on.
Okay.
30 foot plus the turns.
Turns,
The
yeah,
radius
the
is- it's
the fence.
Yeah, right, 30-foot square on the fence.
And that bridge is coming up
And then,
next summer too, so.
and then that, what do we use for security for our shops then?
A lot of ours are fenced. I'm planning on running cameras. I wasn't
Okay.
planning on I don't think our fences have stopped anybody. I
Okay.
think I'd rather
So
collect
are you gonna
evidence.
are you gonna have a gate then or not?
No, I wasn't planning on.
Okay.
I was going to put cameras up there, and we're putting Wi-Fi outside, hoping to encourage the deputy to sit there, so.
John,
Okay.
And we have a
this
nice break
is
room too.
Will Minden stay open or closed?
Minute will stay open.
So you'll have this one and Minden and Lewis?
Lewis eventually will be closed when we get to that
Oh,
point.
it will?
Yeah,
Okay, when we go to the airport.
right. So when this one will close the Avoca, Walnut,
Right,
Hancock, and Caledonia shops.
right, I knew those, I just couldn't remember about whether Minden, but it stays open.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, I guess I just need a motion to approve resolution 73, 2020.
So move.
Two
Second.
Okay, got a motion, second, any discussion?
Chairman Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisors Groby.
Aye.
Wickman.
Aye.
Drake.
I,
Belt.
Okay, next we have, John again, some discussion decision on the roads budget strategy to reallocate the fund balance towards additional projects and maintenance.
We talked before, we're bonding for these facility projects, which were held in balance and have been held in balance since we tried to do G30 connector between L34 and Old Lincoln Highway. What I'm kind of looking for is direction on how I should budget those funds and some other things. I guess we're getting a lot of work done and have contractors in town. I could try to expand on what we're doing this year or bring it back in next budget. I really need to hear from you guys if you want me to put it back into improving the entire system, or if you want to direct that towards projects or specific projects. So there's probably about $4 million there that just kind of needs allocated. And I'd like to bring that to you the way you want it, but I'm not sure what you want exactly.
We're bonding for this project in Hancock?
Yes, you've had the public hearings
right,
to give the bond authority out of local option sales tax.
Okay.
I'm gonna chime in, that's part of that not to exceed 8 million. This would be part of that, right, John?
Yes,
Sorry, Becky Belt.
John, what do you want to do with it? What's your feeling?
I'd like to redirect it back into kind of the three big line items in my budget are gravel, seal coats, and bridges. I guess I'd like to maybe step up efforts on those over the next 3 years and bring that down. I don't want to have a really big year because I'm replacing a lot of stuff that was done in the 90s when they had big years, and it's really hard to budget for. So
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to spread out those expenditures, but I could also see, trying to fix a problem in the county, kind of like we were trying to do with G30 that just outgrew what my budget could do, I guess. But I like either approach, but I think I'd rather see the whole system come up
Okay.
quality-wise.
So Becky, what's that number that we bonded for this Hancock facility then?
So we haven't bonded. We gave ourselves the
No,
authority.
I
when
understand,
John
but what number did we use?
not to exceed 8 million.
8
And
million?
that was where Maggie spoke from Spear that he'll probably issue part of that 8 million with this project. And then that reserves the balance of that not to exceed 8
Okay.
million
Okay, I'm
for a
with you.
future bond.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we follow John Rasmussen's plan for the future of his budget and add these back into the 3 items that he would prefer. It was gravel.
Seal coats and bridges. I don't know if this was an action item. I
Yeah, if
want to
you
collect
can
from you guys to make my
Yeah,
budget.
put it back into the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's listed as an action item, so you can make that motion if you want.
Well, I just, not knowing what the landscape's gonna be like, I mean, if we have, God forbid, another 2019 flood or something. I mean, I'd like to try to stay as flexible as possible. I understand the need, you know.
Could we talk timeline then? I mean,
Yeah.
are we talking not necessarily this summer, but this coming budget?
Right.
So I'll show it in the proposed budget in December or when we get to that. For reserve, I was gonna keep, I think 4.5 million in reserve. So
I mean, at the end of the day, and Scott, I think you can talk to this too a little bit. When we were talking about doing G30, this was like, hey, I've got $9 million sitting in an account. We're gonna use that to help pay for this G30 project. And I think a lot of discussions, especially that Scott and I had, were like, wait a minute, we wanted that money to go back out to the road. So I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to see this go back into the bigger picture. I just think that where Scott's going too is that, timing is everything with this. So we just need to, I don't wanna just say, okay, here's your 9 million back or 8 million back, I guess, and dump it all on the roads right now, not knowing what's coming here. So I think your approach should be just kind of let's spread those funds back out, spread over the entire system, and then that way you have the money there to take care of things as you need to. And obviously seal coats, and we've talked about this 100 times, that they're, especially some of those ones in the low central populated areas. I mean, that's been kind of that's where they're getting pretty bad.
Is the DOT doing traffic counts in our
Yes, there.
our section right now?
This is our year, yeah.
So are they off the main roads doing counts too? You don't have anybody out counting, do you?
No, I don't. They should be out. I don't know that I've seen any counters. I did see some counters on Railroad Highway.
There are counters on Three Bridge Road.
Yeah.
I asked for a special count in Three Bridge, so I'm glad that's getting a.
Mud Hollow got done.
Did it?
So you identified roads that you wanted counted?
They come, they tell you every 4 years when they're gonna do a count.
No, I know.
Then they ask you what projects may change a count, so I have to tell them what counts. Then they'll ask what roads would I like them to for sure make a count on, and then I try to hit, I ask for like line count, cause line count I think is like 430 or something on that east or west end, so I like an official count on that, 'cause some of that stuff's estimated, and I don't know what's estimated and what's.
Right,
count.
I guess like to see that list that you requested. I mean, I didn't know we had that option to identify roads that they will go do and then do their calculations and stuff, but, are they done now, or are they still?
I don't think so.
When will you get the results of that?
It'll probably be a year.
About a year, you think?
Yeah.
They
seem to be
next
about a year
summer?
behind.
I mean, that kinda should have a little bit bearing on where we go to with what we see in traffic flows and stuff.
The, kind of how I was planning on rolling that out is I would keep the 4.5 million in reserve, so if we
Right.
have more flood issues, then over 3 years, bring that other 4 million down, so I don't know that we're over obligating ourselves or digging
What's
ourselves
a
a hole.
good reserve number for you? Like what, because I mean, we know our percent, but.
I like the 4 to 4.5 million is about 20% reserve for me.
Okay.
I think that's
But the other side of that is, even though it looks pretty, I guess, optimistic, promising right now, we don't know where these fuel road use loss money's gonna go yet, to be honest with you. I mean, we can all say we haven't seen any, very little deterioration, but I just caution, until this thing straightens itself out, to be careful where we go. I mean, that's just, I wanna be a pretty non-optimistic on that, but, and what the feds are gonna do with monies.
Right.
For road infrastructure, maybe there will be a big infrastructure package come out.
So John, if I'm understanding you right, you're saying that we'll still have some more opportunities to discuss how this money gets spent as you go in budget cycle and.
Yeah, I'll bring it back in the budget cycle. I just don't know what to bring you, so I have a plan now, so I'll bring you what you want.
One last question for you, John. Where is the McPherson to Three Bridge Road project?
I have survey collected on, we collected a survey before the leaves came on this spring. We're doing a preliminary design on that. gonna take it to a couple alternatives and the costs and bring it back for you guys. At some point, we have to have public hearings on what we plan on doing. I'm just trying to maybe get some costs on it and get some alternatives for you to consider moving forward or not on that one. I don't have the money in hand to pay for that road, but
So those roads, and I probably don't have them all, but there's gravel, there's seal coat, there's asphalt and concrete, are those kind of the 4 general roads?
Mhm.
So is there, well, it seemed like by now you'd have this, not you, but the industry, a cost per mile for each of those surfaces, and then what that maintenance is based on, normal traffic, and which one gets you the most bang for the buck? I know the disappearing gravel doesn't get us a lot of bang for the buck.
there's a lot of studies on there. I guess we have kind of our own costs, and other counties have their own costs just based on materials. But yeah, there are studies on that, I guess, as far
So
as statewide average.
Those last ones we did, and I know we did Hunt Avenue, we did whatever 285th and whatever the other one once it goes from Greenview over to 92 with that. Are you calling that seal coat?
Yeah.
I mean, is that stuff seem to be holding up pretty good, or?
We get about 12 years out of that material. We're putting 110,000 per mile in that. So we're recycling that base. Most of our costs in the base work. So we're stabilizing 8 inches deep, and we got to recycle what was there already. So this year we're about 110 per mile.
Okay.
If we were to do that on a new road, it's probably closer to 250,000 a mile because we don't have anything to recycle.
Oh, really?
We have to put the oil back into it. So we're recycling the asphalt that's in there already.
Right,
That keeps our costs low.
okay. And then you didn't happen to have them do a count on Hunt Avenue too, did you?
I don't believe I did. I'll have to
Okay.
check.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so did you want to rescind your motion? I mean, there's really
No,
no need for it, or you want to keep it?
yeah, fix it so that it says what we want it to say. That it's gonna go back into the budget over
Okay,
the next 3 years, John? Is that what you're saying? Over the next 3 years?
okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? I guess, at the end of the day, gives you a fairly long leash on this, but just make sure that you do have those conversations with us in the fall when we start talking about budgets again, so that we can make sure we understand where this money is going, and then,
Excuse me.
yeah, and then enough said that. I'll hit you up later outside of this meeting for another deal, but, okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. So, thanks, Milan, for that. Next okay, this next one's a little, it's a goofy one, and I wanted to put it back on the agenda for some discussion, so that we can get to the next steps. If you guys recall, 3 weeks ago, I asked each of you to kind of take some of the notes that Scott had provided. Scott did a lot of the legwork and worked with, Fire Chief Justin James and a handful of others over there to kind of put together this all-terrain off-road vehicles ordinance that we want to put in place. And I think what I wanted to do here today was just have, and I set up so we can make a decision if we need to. But really, I just want to get a heads up of where everyone's at, and then I want to make sure that we get to the next steps on it. So I guess as we go into this, is there any updates from each of your individual departments yet on this, or?
So the codification process for what was given to me from Scott is done. It's been codified to meet the standards of what our code is. It's laid out number-wise, all of the same. As I read through it, pieces that I feel like are, and that includes the updates to the schedule of fees as well, right? Because if we're going to do an application process and take in a fee, we'll have simultaneously, we will update and adopt a new schedule of fees along with the adoption process of what would be Chapter 12, the all-terrain and off-road vehicles ordinance. And so the modification piece to the schedule of fees is done, but what we need to do is settle on what do we want to charge for fees and have who's taking in the application for it, who's processing the application, and what kind of an identification tag are they going to receive? Are they gonna get like a little miniature license plate? Are they getting a numbered sticker? What's gonna set them?
Sticker.
Yes, Mark's working on it. He talked to Mike from A Plus Printing, and we have designed a sticker to put on the back of the off-road vehicles, ATVs.
Why that they were regulation DNR stickers?
No,
There, there is that too, but that's totally
that's a
different
different
from,
deal.
yeah.
That would be if you're gonna take it to a Iowa DNR park,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, this is just strictly for county road use.
Okay. So, the sticker, does Mark have a fee schedule, I guess, or does he know what he would like to see?
We had suggested $50.
Excuse me, Scott, I spoke with Jeff Pratt from Monona County here this morning, and I spoke with both Gene Goose and Mills and Jeff Pratt in Monona. They both have not had any problems with their ordinance since it's been in place. Monona County's had it for like 3 years. He did say though that they charge $50. He said that's kind of a rub. He said that's probably the biggest rub they had. The counties around them had charging like 25, something like that. People will pretty much pay 25. He said the 50, they're a little resistant to it. So that was just his 2 cents worth. So if you, he said he thought 50 was a little steep. They said they put out, I think he said they ordered 100 stickers this year. They ended up using them all. But during this 3 years, the $50 has been the hard. He said we probably get a lot more people go ahead and register in their vehicle if it was, in that 25 or 30 or something like that. So that's just what he told me this morning.
How do you guys feel about the fees?
It doesn't have to be a yearly fee, does it?
Yeah.
It is a yearly fee.
Well, why couldn't it be a 2-year sticker instead of a 1-year sticker?
No, it's an annual fee.
I think most counties do just a yearly fee or yearly sticker.
I mean, you're talking like what they do with boats or something? Yeah. Problem there is, yeah, I don't know.
Dog license, just on the example of dog licensing, when you get anything past a year, it becomes a pain. Cause then then everybody will start forgetting. So if you just do it on an annual basis, I would recommend something like that.
Because they have to renew their ATVs yearly anyway, so then when they renew their ATV, they'll probably just get the road pass as well.
Did Mark have a suggestion on the fee cost, or did he?
I
He had
thought he talked.
a range. I think there were some of them, if I remember right, some of them were as high as 75. I mean, it was all over the board.
It's all over the board. I mean, some were like 35, some were like 15, some were 25. I mean, they're.
Yeah, I don't know. So I guess this is a hard question to answer in this meeting, but do we want max participation in this, or do we just want it to be semi-limited? So let's say, for example, it was $50 and that does deter people away from buying it. Is that a bad thing?
No, they can't, well, if they are on the roads with, then they're violating the
Right, but
ordinance.
then that's where we enforce it and we get the money anyway.
Right.
So I don't know.
On a development side of it, I really think that you go to the higher end. I think you look at other counties, Monona, Mills County, whatever that may be, they are not as developed as what we are. And to have that higher fee, I feel like is going to help out, because at some point in time, when these guys really start running around the more developed areas, it's going to cause a lot of nuisance for the county.
I mean, I don't think 50 sounds out of line to me, but
Which one?
$50 sounds fine
Yeah,
to me, but I
yeah.
don't, you know, I don't wanna, I think what Sheriff Danker's saying is very valid and important too. I mean, if we don't,
I don't care what you do, it doesn't, it doesn't make any difference to me either way. I'm just giving you what, you know, they're experiencing in Illinois County, and he says too, they're more rural up there, so,
right.
you know, they just have different set of circumstances than we do.
I like the 25 myself.
Well, I
Okay,
mean, with the amount of, you know, basically the paperwork and the stuff that, you know, the recorder's gotta take on and stuff, I just,
yeah, I mean, you're spending probably 10 minutes or so with each person at the counter and then,
I mean, these guys are spending 10 grand or better on these probably vehicles or whatever you want, and what the next widget's gonna be, you know, I mean.
I did have a gentleman come in yesterday and he was kind of asking about it. He was just kind of asking what maybe the fee would be. And I know we had talked with Mark and we thought it was gonna maybe be around $50. And so I told him 50, because I was kind of curious to see what his reaction would be. And actually he didn't balk at it at all as far as paying the $50.
Now, does that in any way interfere with the farm
It
vehicle?
has nothing to do with the ag.
no, so your ag stays the same, yeah. Yeah, and then something to note too is that, you know, so let's say county puts this in place, some of these smaller towns are gonna say, okay, we're gonna have our own, or they have to adopt ours, which would be, I think I talked to Mayor McClellan a little bit about it. I think his conversation he had with me was about, well, if you guys institute this fee, you know, we'll approve it, but they need to have your sticker as well, otherwise they're not doing it, kind of thing, so. But I think 50 is fair, personally. I mean, I have an ATV, and if I were gonna do it, I feel like I'd pay $50, and it's not a big deal to me, so. It doesn't seem out of line. And again, I mean, when Sheriff Danker's deputies pull someone over that doesn't have a sticker that should, we're gonna capture that money right then and there anyway, plus a ticket, so. I think we're okay there. Is there any, okay, so let's move on from that discussion. Is there any other concerns, you know, like, John, I know this could impact, is this going to impact roads at all? Do you feel like it's gonna have
I feel like problems? I talked to other county engineers and they didn't really notice a change either. Those people are already out there. So that didn't change much. I guess I haven't used a lot of ATVs or UTVs, and I'm a little nervous about them on pavement, I guess, as far as, you know, if your top speed's 45 and you're running Old Lincoln Highway, then you got cars passing and sometimes those low pressure tires really bite into the pavement and the vehicle doesn't react as a driver would expect. So I wish we had somebody reviewing this stuff that had a better feel, I guess, on how an ATV is gonna be on pavement, but I do have concerns on pavement. Maybe not the seal coats, because there's just not that many people out there, but it just kind of makes me nervous thinking somebody might have a top speed of 45 or 35 and running Old Lincoln Highway and us permitting that, because they get a little crazy on the passing out there.
And there was some language on tires I thought I remember seeing in there.
There is.
They had to be DOT approved and rated or something.
Then I think Matt brought up noise, maybe I saw in another ordinance, I don't know where we talked about that, but there gets to be those people that have the aftermarket mufflers and the racing this and that, and I guess somehow we should address that noise before it's an issue too.
Does this, slow-moving vehicles have connection with agriculture? Or do you know?
Yeah, you
I've
saw.
only ever seen one with a slow-moving vehicle
Yeah,
sign on it, and they're causing problems on the road, they're going too slow. So, I'd like to see that included anyway.
yeah, I think the ag exemption's still gonna exist, so.
But, okay.
Did you say what?
My concern on the noise really, and I could save it for my personal expression at the public hearing of what it would mean for me as a Potawatomi County resident, but I live off of a gravel road. And, on our road, we have numerous farm vehicles that pass by. We don't have loud motorcycle traffic because we're on a gravel road. I have concerns with permitting these hopped up, when we have agriculture, we have a number of farmers that use their Rangers, they use their Gators, they're up and down the roads. That's one thing and one speed level, but then you turn this thing loose to Can-Am 1000 turbocharged, hopped up mufflers on these things. And I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna scream up our hill, they're gonna jump at the top of it, and they're gonna try to make that corner, and they're gonna really race through those less hill gravel roads and try to make their own little race course out of it. And that's where my concern really comes into, is what does this then wind up doing to the residents that live out there? And that there's a number of houses right up against those gravel roads to where all of a sudden you went from vehicle traffic that goes by your house at maybe 25, 30 miles an hour to these, UTVs racing by at 60, 70, maybe even faster, because that's what they're built for. And then to put that, I worry about putting that up against a deputy in a Tahoe that's not built for off-road, trying to corral any of those individuals that are going down there. And while they haven't had a lot of those stories come out of other counties, they do come out of those other counties where they, down in Mills County, they just did like a big fundraiser thing with one of those things where they all rode on those things from bar to bar, and there were people in them so drunk by the time people were leaving because they were scared of what was going on. But that's my, I've as far as my job position wise, I've gone through and done what I needed to do, but personally wise, I have pulls against this to where, I don't feel like it's the right thing for Potawatomi County, but.
I guess it kind of comes back to the question of, how do we enforce it? And, that's not my expertise by any means. So, I guess in the sheriff's office, have you talked to those other counties? Did they talk about how they enforce things like that? Or, because I think that's the unsaid concern of a lot of folks, but, do we need to?
Well, it's still operating a vehicle under the influence if you get pulled over, and insurance and your license, your CDL, whatever you got as a responsible person,
I'm more concerned like what he said with, you got someone that's gonna jump the top of the hill,
Yeah, but you got people on motorcycles that on L34, probably about one a year out there. That's on a hard surface.
What do you out there that what?
Pardon?
What do we have on L34?
The crash out there on there,
I'm talking about more like, okay, this guy jumps to the top of my hill, and then takes off. Because the thing with these vehicles is that they can go on and off road. And if we're enforcing it with a Tahoe that is, they're pretty much limited to staying on our gravel roads. I realize they're four-wheel drive, they can go off the road, but they're not gonna chase down a Polaris and Razors, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
So how do we enforce it? Do we just leave it to the handful of deputies that are out there in the middle of the night on a Saturday when this is happening?
They're not supposed to be out after the sun goes down.
Right. I get that, but I'm just saying, we gotta think through the enforcement side of it too.
Right. No, I understand.
Do we need to outfit, that's the question, do the deputies need this type of vehicle too? Maybe there's areas where,
The hard part is gonna be just trying to, like Matt said, it's gonna be, the majority of people will probably be good and be responsible, but there's gonna be some that are gonna be out there that are gonna be difficult, and they're gonna have a lot of vehicles and go fast, and for us, when we're out patrolling, we have a Polaris Ranger out there, but it's not a Razor or anything like that. It's gonna be able to keep up with something like this, and I don't know that I want my guys,
pursuing it.
trying to chase somebody in a UTV like that. So, the best thing we can do is try to find out who they are, and, because probably they're gonna be local, they're gonna be somebody that's gonna be within a few miles, and then try to catch up with them inside them for that. If we're trying to loot us, then, the traffic laws will, adhere to that, and they're OWI, if they're drunk, they're operating a motor vehicle on a roadway, so those are all, they're fair game for that, but it's,
Are there laws that we have to enforce, beyond obviously operating it, under the influence of something, but what about if they are doing, excessive speeding and all that, is it just fall right back on like a normal vehicle would, like if you're doing it right with a truck or something.
All of that, I mean, it's just, I think you can charge them with those,
Like the fee structure is the same too, right? So if you're speeding, you get the same speeding ticket you would.
Scott, you mentioned, they shouldn't be riding at night. There isn't a time limit on these, is there?
Yeah, sunrise to sunset, I think it is.
Is that in state code? Because it's not in this one.
I thought it was in there.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I was gonna say, I
Okay,
did not
I
see that.
thought,
It's in some of the other counties' examples that you sent out.
yeah,
It's just not in our draft. It wasn't in there
Okay, I
that
thought
I
it
saw
was.
for ours.
okay,
So they have headlights and taillights, right?
right,
They have to have those.
yeah.
But you're gonna tell them when it gets dark, you can't ride it on the roads.
Well,
See, that's the hard part is like, but you can ride a motorcycle, you know, and it's like, so you can ride a two-wheeled vehicle, but not a four-wheeled vehicle with the same headlights, same better turn signals probably, you know, do we want to limit that? I don't know.
I don't know, I thought it was in there, but it might be, I read whatever 8 of them or whatever there was, and, you know. I mean, you can always amend it, or
Maybe we just do that. The first
resend it
year,
if
we
it
just
don't work out.
not
What's that?
limit it. Let's do it the first year, you know, let's maybe consider the first year, we're gonna have this open, and if it gets, people screw it up, I mean, really,
Right.
this is back on these people that own these vehicles, and really there should be some, you know, peer pressure to do the right
Right.
thing here, and, okay, this first year, we'll let you guys, we're gonna treat these like motorcycles and everything else. Screw this up, we're gonna go sunrise to sunset, screw it up again, we're gonna pull away, you know? Maybe
Are we
something
gonna
like that.
limit registration fees to only Potawatomi County residents?
I don't know, does the county surrounding us, they don't have this, do they?
Oh, yeah,
Cass,
they come across now, Mills County. I guess, well,
I would say
what's
yes.
that mean?
Yeah,
How else?
I think that's something that we'd wanna make sure we
you
put.
get to the boat, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say the same.
Because otherwise, if you have somebody, I mean, do you want people who live within, we'll just say Council Bluffs, do you want people who live within inside city limits of Council Bluffs who own one of these things to be able to register it and then potentially trailer it out to the county, drop it off and run it around on the roads?
Is there
Well, they live in Block County.
do we look at doing like a temporary fee structure too, maybe? You know, so maybe there's people that come here once a year and.
Will just be a little bit different if you have those landowners, or, you know, people who live in town doing the, you know, if they own if they own a lot of them, they do end up doing that, trailering them and parking out there and then driving them out on the county roads. Are they contributing to the upkeep of those roads?
Oh, I like the idea if they're.
Get sales tax and buy gas.
It's just a question.
No, I'm just saying, that's where he gets
I
the
would
money.
say gas tax maybe. The only concern I really have is the one that John brought up. You know, if a ATV is only capable of 35 or 40 miles an hour, we really don't want it on Railroad Highway or Lincoln Highway, causing issues. Or even Tamarack might even be an issue. So that's something that's the only thing.
Is there roadways that we can just say you're not allowed to drive them on certain roads? I mean, maybe we can identify roads that we say, look, stay off these roads, you can cross it, but you can't drive up and down it.
Would you let them run on the shoulder? That would be the next question, I guess. Would they be all right to run on the shoulder? But
I mean, I think if we just say you're not driving North Broadway, then you're not driving it. I don't know, I mean, I'm not the answer guy.
I'm not either. You know, you made a comment just a little bit ago, Justin, maybe we try to get this thing in the best possible ordinance that we can do right now. Run it for a year. If we have some issues and complaints and problems, then we can amend it. I don't have any
Or
issues.
resend it.
Yeah.
You know, they're not gonna go away, and they're out there already.
No, I get it.
And like I said, I don't know what the next widget's gonna be. I don't personally have one. I mean, you know,
Scott, in the research that you did any of them talk about why they limited them to just, roadways other than the pavement? Because I know there are several of them that did not allow them on paved roadways, just.
Right, and well, because they didn't, a lot of them don't have near the paved roads that we have. Yeah, it was, no, I really didn't, Rob, to tell you the truth, have that in-depth discussion on that. Like I said, it's just something that's gonna continue to be out there, and I just, if we can make sure to have some insurance on their license, and then they're insured, and that type of thing, I think it's just better for the rest of us out there, that are out there.
That'll never happen.
You know?
Well, you know, I've had a significant amount of people, you know, laser focused on this topic and would love to see this pass. And, you know, I'm a little bit biased because I have an ATV that I would love to be able to drive down the road to my neighbors or whatever and not have to worry about it, or at least do it legally, I guess. But I guess where I'm going with this is I think we need to at least go to the next steps. I think the next steps in the process would be to have, is it a public hearing? Is that the right?
Yeah, so we'll put out the notification in all the area papers, and put the draft up at the auditor's office for people to review. And then we'll have the public hearing on it. That would be your, first consideration and public hearing on the ordinance. Go through that public hearing, that's open for public comment, and then schedule the second consideration for it. After the second consideration and recording at the recorder's office, then it's set to go.
So, do we do the amending of the fee schedule at the same time as?
We would do the amending of the fee schedule at the same time.
Same time as the public?
It would be two separate public hearings over it, but it would just. On the same day. We could do it on the same day. It's just two separate public hearings.
So the notice is how many, is it a 10 and 20 or what's?
Yes.
A 10 and 20? Mm-hmm. So we couldn't really do it until, this is August 4th. So the soonest we could do it would be, what, August 25th?
Is it 10 days or is it 21st?
10 and 20, right?
So 10, you could, realistically, we do it the 18th.
Well, you gotta get to the papers, right?
It wouldn't get to the Oakland paper until the 12th. The Boca paper, so that's 1, 2, 3. It's not enough days.
Does that sound about right, man?
I don't know what the Avoca paper, and that would put it to that, but yeah, maybe we could get everything in there.
Well, you have to get it to them by Friday for Boca.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't get published till the 12th.
So Matt, when would you like the public hearing set for?
That's what we're working on. The 25th, you think? The 18th.
Well, I'd like to be able to just go with the 18th to try to keep it in with everybody's timeline,
Well,
but I don't see why,
you wanna try the 18th?
I don't think there's necessarily any major concerns.
I'm gonna chime in on the publication part, guys. If you need to publish it in the rural papers, if you get it to the rural paper by this Thursday, it will be in next week's paper. They have that longer requirement to get it to them. So then that wouldn't give you your 10 days if you need a 10-day notice.
You would not. Is that what you said? You can't hear me.
So we have.
Correct.
So they need it by
Correct,
Thursday.
you would not. By Thursday this week, which would be the 6th, you would get it in their like 12th, 13th, or 14th publication. That would not give you 10 days before the 18th. You could, if you got it to them, make it for the 25th and still meet your 10-day
So wait,
deadline.
you're saying it's gotta be 10 days from the day they publish their paper?
Yes.
Yeah, if it's a 10-day requirement, then yes,
Cool, they're off our list.
10 days before the meeting.
So
Yeah, so that puts you at the 25th.
So the 25th. I'll make that.
You've got a 10-day publication, Yes, you need the 25th.
I'll make the motion that we, set the public hearing and first consideration of the ordinance for the 25th of August, 2020 at 10 a.m. for the regulation and operation of all terrain and off-road vehicles in Pot County.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, got a second. Lynn? Any other discussion on this? So the next one, then there's
That includes the, what do you call, codification of the,
That's done.
of the fees and stuff. Does that, when I do this motion, do I need to do another motion for that or?
Talk to you about,
You can say and schedule fees.
And schedule fees.
have a public hearing on the schedule of fees for that same day.
Okay.
okay.
And that's part of my motion in the schedule of fees.
So that, we have to have two separate public hearings for that, is that correct, Matt?
We will have two separate public hearings, yes.
So this motion's on the, consideration of the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, so when can we do the?
Well, can we vote on this?
Same. Okay.
Okay, all right. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Scott, now you wanna make a
Make a
motion?
motion to have a public hearing on the schedule of fees, is that what you wanna call it?
Yeah.
And, August 25th or 2020 at 10 o'clock. Oh, 10:10, whatever.
10:10, yeah.
Can we back it up like that?
Well, because I guess we have to,
Let's just have.
I
it
imagine that
the
there will
same
be people that will come and talk, so let's back it up. I'd just
Okay.
ask you to back it up to.
Well, but if it's after 10:10, you're still okay, but 10:20, I don't know, whatever you wanna do, Chairman.
I'll leave it at 10:10. If they get to talking, it goes over, they can still come.
Right.
Still go right after that and go.
Yeah, that's fine, okay. Okay, 10:10.
You get a second on that too?
I
I'll
thought
do
I
it.
did.
I did not.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Great. Thank you
Now,
all.
that is to set the schedule of fees, or?
Yeah, modification of schedule fees.
Okay, so now we're moving on off that topic to item D, which is Planning and Development Director Matt Wyant and Acting Director Pam Calstrip and Terry Brown with Iowa Homeland Security. Is he on the phone?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, thanks, Terry. The discussion and decision on how to proceed with DR 4421 application pertaining to the flood impacted properties, the date of loss of March 11th, 2019. Matt, you want to get this off?
Yes, so we have Terry Brown here with us from Iowa Homeland Security. We have submitted in the appraisals that we conducted on the flood damaged properties to the people that were interested in the buyout process. And so I believe Pam probably attached her email to you that talks a little bit about I think we kind of got two different options. Is that correct, Terry? On the way to go, did you want to talk through those two different options?
Yep, I'll kind of touch on what we're looking at. Right now, we've got a total application amount of just over $9 million, which is a culmination of the appraised values of each of the properties, as well as the additional costs that's going to be incurred for the total take of the properties. That being legal closing and demolition costs for each of the properties, which has to be taken into consideration throughout the application, as well as some administrative costs put in there. That's for a total right now of 33 properties. The first issue that we have to address is funding that's available for the here and now. So under Disaster 4421 through the Hazard Mitigation Grants Program, we currently have available to us in the vicinity of around $2 to $3 million within that framework. This application will be, as we are speaking now, this application will be due the first part of September. We are trying to get a extension to that because of COVID. I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to get that extension, so we might have a little bit more time on it. So that's the first obstacle that we have to decide is in what framework do we, or which properties do we actually include on the application as active properties? And what I mean by active is available for immediate acquisition under the amount of money that we have available to us. For the remaining properties that aren't considered active on the application would be put on a stacked list, what we consider stacked list, which is nothing more than we've identified the properties. They're going to sit there on the application, just not readily available, but sit on the application waiting for additional funds to come. Where additional funds can come from on our end of it is twofold. Number one, if Iowa Economic Development Authority does receive CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant money, it can be put forth towards you guys, towards Pot County for some of the acquisition costs, but it also is going to be utilized a lot down south of you for our acquisition projects that are currently underway. And by doing that, their application budgets will go down, which will then bring more money back into our availability, which can then pull some of these properties off of their stacked status, quote unquote stacked status, and make them active. That's the first question that we have to get through. Now, the other question we have to get through is what we call a benefit cost analysis waiver. What that means is to be qualified as a property to not have to do a benefit cost analysis on it to determine if it's cost eligible for acquisition. FEMA has come out with a memo a couple of years back indicating that a total acquisition of a property has to be under $276,000. And that's the complete all-in cost. So that's the acquisition, the closing, the demolition, and any other ancillary costs that have to go along with that property. Now, in certain cases, like the one we're looking at here, there are several properties that are over that amount, that $276,000 amount. However, we have the ability to do a overall average. And that way we can factor in the pre-calculated benefits as an average across the board. So what that means is, with this application we're looking at here, you have your top heavy and your bottom heavy. Now, fortunately, if we take all 33 properties at face value at what we're looking at, you're just under that $276,000. You're at $274,000 and some change. That's good news. Bad news is we have to make sure that anything that we go active with still falls under that $276,000. So if you guys determine that this block of properties are what you want to go into the application with, that total average has to still be under $276,000. So it's not one of those things where you can pick 5 of your most expensive properties or whatever, 6 of your most expensive properties and go active on those, and then we stack the rest. Those stacked properties don't initially factor into your overall average. It's what's considered active. Now, the last issue that we're coming into play on this is simply what we call the replacement housing benefit. And this is something that we talked about from the very beginning, and it was actually put out there to the public in the public hearing meetings that we had and stuff like that. The replacement housing benefit is one it's an amount up to $31,000 that the county can offer through federal funds. The county can offer to the residents that are relocating or moving, selling their properties and moving. Now there's some nuances to it when it comes to how they can realize that amount up to $31,000. The issue that we're facing here is if you actually consider $31,000 across the board on all of these properties, you have now exceeded that average of $276,000. So you may have to be strategic. If you are going to offer $31,000, you may have to be strategic on which properties are eligible for it and which ones may not be eligible for it. Otherwise, it will pretty much eliminate a good portion of the properties from even being eligible on the application. That's a lot that I just said, so I will leave it there and let you guys kind of follow up on some questions to see where we're at.
So Terry, out of the $2 to $3 million that we could potentially get now, is that gonna be 100% funding, or are we looking at the county gonna have to cover a portion of that cost?
Yep, so as of right now, it's still through Housing Mitigation Grants Program, there is still that 75, 10, 15 split. So 75 federal, 10 state, 15 local. Now, that being said, I'll go back to my original statement of CDBG is coming, Iowa Economic Development Authority is coming with that funding that may potentially be eligible for you guys, and that funding can be used for local match because it loses its federal identity once it hits Economic Development Authority's hands. Now, that's what we need to work with Economic Development Authority to make sure that, and we have been, and they're fully aware of the need, both for local match purposes as well as potentially used for full acquisition. It's just a matter of getting Economic Development Authority able to give you some of that funding.
Other counties who've been restricted on funds like this, when they have a larger project like what we have you seen them do, when they have to notify you what active properties they want to do you suggest that we go through a lottery system, or do they have to where they work it from the flood properties that are in the floodway versus floodplain and kind of determine their risk that way? But I mean, we're gonna have to have some way of judging, of justifying our actions back to the public.
Well, you're right. And some of the communities that we worked with in the past, they didn't necessarily do a lottery. What they did, in many of cases, they went the route of the most distressed, most impacted, and worked themselves out from there. In many cases, up and down the river, a lot of communities will look from the river in, because the river, the closer you get to the river, obviously, the more you're at risk. So that's one way to do it. That's one facet that you can look at. The other is, quite frankly, go back to some of these residents, because in many of cases, especially the further out we get, in many cases, some of them, I don't want to say might be on the fence, but they may have lesser desire to participate. So the one thing that you really want to gauge with these individuals is their seriousness, because the last thing you want to do is put somebody on this list that they're like, yeah, as long as you're there, we'll participate, but at the end of the day, we might not. And then 2 months down the road, when the application's approved, they decide, I don't, I changed my mind, I don't want in. So that's another way too. It's kind of weed out the ones that are just there in the event that there's money available to you. But at the end of this, the last criteria is we got to fit it in under that 276,000 when it comes to the overall average. So that's where we got to weigh this.
So two questions, and one kind of on Matt. So if any of them are, let's just say, closest to the river and that are, what do you want to call them, vacant or abandoned, or they're not livable, that could be a criteria for those properties.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the criteria is up to you guys.
Okay.
When it comes to that, we have no set criteria. The main two criteria that we realistically take into consideration the most is, number one, the properties have to be located in the special flood hazard area or what we're considering as best available data.
These are already in there, right?
Yes, all of these that we've looked at,
from
from my understanding, are in the special flood hazard area or what we're considering best available data, since the levee system is Swiss cheese currently. So yeah, and then the 276.
Okay. The second, Terry, second question, the 31,000 that is for home replacement house benefit.
Yep.
Is that 100% federal money, or is that the split also?
Nope. So that's part of the budget. So that's part of the split as well.
Okay.
You know, right now. So what we ended up, and I'll tell you how I did Mills County, because they kind of had a similar situation to what we're seeing with Pot County. We didn't, but we also knew, and here's the other aspect too. We also knew that several of the properties wouldn't either qualify for that 31,000, and by qualify I mean two things. One, and I know we've had this discussion before, but you know, Mills County restricted their residents that if you relocated, you had to do it within the confines of Mills County. If not, then you weren't eligible for that 31,000. The other aspect of it too is, in order to be eligible for any part of that 31,000, you have to acquire a property greater than what you're selling up to or greater than that 31,000. And in some of these cases, like a $600,000 property that I see is appraised on here, the likelihood of, and I could be wrong, but I'm just saying the likelihood of them moving to a $631,000 house is probably far less than somebody who's in a $150,000 house moving to something that's $200,000. So, you know, maybe those individuals might not be qualified for it anyway. Or if they've already relocated outside of Pot County, if you guys put that restriction on them. You know, so what we ended up doing in Mills County is, instead of associating a replacement housing benefit to each individual property, I did a line item for, you know, say like five properties at 31,000. I did not directly associate it to an individual property, and then we just budgeted it that way. So that way you kind of had the flexibility of who you could use it on as you determine their eligibility.
Thanks. Is this the end? Or, I mean, like, is there not gonna be opportunities in the future to try to get more money to try to get these other folks
No, it's
bought
not
out?
the end, because it's like Terry says, so we're applying for this allotment of money that they have right now. And then the residual properties then we'll be able to do up to $2 million worth of properties, the way it sounds like. And then the remaining properties are gonna get kind of stacked up. And then as they get awarded more money, then we just have to make sure that we maintain some push up there to say, we still have properties that we want on the list to get more funding for, and we're gonna.
State, AMVETS or just state?
Yeah.
I think just kind of the state level, I think, Terry.
Yep, so here's the way this funding works. So the Disaster 4421 funding, is HMGP funding, is disaster related. So anytime we have a disaster in the state, the funding becomes available. Now, what we're doing here is, and why this is kind of critical of this aspect of it, in order for a property to be eligible for two things: one, the money that's being allocated for 4421, as well as these individuals their appraisals are based on what we call pre-flood fair market value. So it's based on the value of that house the day before it actually flooded. Okay. And so in order to keep those two criteria in place, they need to be identified on this application, whether they're stacked or whether they're active. As long as they're identified on this application, they are eligible for those two items, for the pre-flood fair market value and then the funding available to them currently. Here's where it gets a little sideways. Is, let's say you guys say, okay, we're not going to stack these properties. we're just gonna let them go and we'll pick them up if we get federal funds again. Okay, that's fine, but if you do that, then the appraised value of those properties are then based on the pre-flood fair market value as of that flood. So if, let's say, another flood comes in 2021, then you would have to have those properties reappraised based on their value prior to that flood. So if let's say a house was completely wrecked from 2019 flood, they haven't done anything to the property at all. And then all of a sudden it gets hit again in 2021, their value is going to be a lot less than what originally they were looking at obtaining from this grant. So that's why we want to make sure that we at least capture them on this application in some form or fashion, so that they're eligible for that. Now, if more funding comes available down the road, we can still have that ability to move them around. It just depends on what we call the current flood of record is.
Terry, how many flood buyouts have been completed in Mills County?
Actually buying property?
Yes.
They have not acquired a property as of yet. We are talking moments away from starting the actual acquisitions. All of the packets have gone out to all the residents. We're wrapping up procurement on all of the services, and they're completing the abstracting because in many of these cases the abstracts have to be rebuilt, so it's taking a little bit longer to do that.
How many people dropped off?
They had, I know they've had at least 3 people drop off, and 2 of which was owned by the same person.
Okay.
So yeah. But see where the money's going to also come from is what we've been working on is with, say, the CDBG funds. Typically, the CDBG funds are paying for just the local matches of these acquisition projects. However, in Mills and Fremont, they have so much money to spend, but they don't want to do full acquisitions. So what they're talking about potentially doing is overmatching on all of our acquisitions. So effectively, you know, as we budgeted for all of those applicants down south of you, we've budgeted for a 75-10-15 split. Well, if CDBG comes in and says, hey, we're going to overmatch you by 50%, so they're picking up 50% of it, that's going to open up several $1 million that we can place elsewhere. Now, believe me, there's several other communities out there that would love the money, and we have several that we're putting up against this, but obviously acquisitions come first, and the declared counties come first from this last disaster. So you guys are in line, and that's why you guys are in line to get, you know, the first couple $2-3 million available to you before we even get out of the gate.
So we just need to identify the properties and let you know which ones we're going to go with.
Let me know which ones you want to go on the active list, and the rest we'll put on the stack list. And then we can, once we have that, we can determine how much we can put towards replacement housing and all of that good stuff.
Okay. So I would suggest to the Board of Supervisors we go with like a river approach then. We work our way from the river this way.
That's a pretty big spread. Is there an exact number? Is it between 2 and 3? I mean,
I think we shoot for 2.
I would stick to around 2, just over 2. So I'd stick to around 2-1. And then if I hear any more, we can just pull the properties as we see fit from there. So on this list, my recommendation would be to physically do a numeric system on it as far as your prioritization. And that way we can just start, if we get more money, we can just start pulling them off based on your numeric system.
Okay. Matt,
First,
I like your approach, but I think
into,
we need to.
elevation on some of these properties is gonna come into decision too. Some
What's
of
that?
elevation, no. Okay.
So
some are built higher than others.
Yeah.
So without
I don't know.
Without knowing for sure what, how?
I just want to,
Are those two, I think there's two left there that sit right on the river, are they on here?
yeah, I think so.
Spark and Jaramonte.
So my question, or what I'd like to state, Matt, to you.
Yeah.
Is that I think I like your approach of going from the river out, but I do think we need to maybe re-engage them and make sure that's what they want. Those levees were repaired and a lot of those farms are now beautiful, thriving farms. I was just up there, this last week, and it's pretty amazing some of the farms that have completely turned around. So maybe those people aren't as interested as they were, obviously, back when this all went down. So I think we need to do
Well, that's, yeah.
hybrid of both.
I would assume that they would drop off, you know, because we'll have to reach out and say, you know, they have until the day they sign the papers to drop off.
Right.
But they, you know, the earlier they let us know they drop off, then we can communicate that we can then move our efforts on towards the next property. I just try, you know, during the, it was after the 11 flood when they started going through the buyout process, you know, they did like a little bit of a lottery to see who was gonna go first and get some of those things done. I just want a simple way to be able to justify, this is the approach we took. So if we looked at from the river this way and then contacted those property owners and said, are you sure, you know, are you still in on the buyout process, wanna do it? And some of them probably will say, no, I'm off, we'll move right down to the next house. And
Well, the thing, a little bit of this, if I understand, is Terry still on there? So that value gets divided by the number, and we gotta stay under that
276?
That 274, 276, is it?
276.
Yep.
276, so we gotta manage that too at the same time.
We will, but theoretically, we wanna be able to say
We will.
that we managed it.
Okay.
The way we managed the program was the overall view of it was from the river in, is what I'm looking at being able to say. And if we're able to say that part of it, and then, you know, whether a landowner wasn't interested, or we had to maybe move over one house to make it fit into the 276 piece of it, but still though, it didn't change the overall approach, was we looked at it from the countywide, from the river in. And then how do we make it fit that 276?
But if they say I'm out, then we're gonna be dividing that number that is now 274, depending on the value of that one that says I don't wanna buy out or whatever.
Right.
We gotta manage that to stay within, under the 276, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, what you're gonna have an issue with is if all of a sudden a bunch of your smaller priced properties decide to jump off. That's where we'll be faced with having to run a benefit cost analysis on some of the properties. And I will tell you from my historical reference that it does not go well typically if I have to run a benefit cost analysis. It's very difficult to determine cost eligibility doing it that way.
Okay, Terry, one last question for you.
Absolutely.
Mills County, did CDBG funds take care of their county share?
Their county sheriff.
No, county share of the.
15%.
Oh,
The state and local match.
so here's the thing. CDBG has, will CDBG cover Mills County? Absolutely.
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
CDBG
Not off the top of my
current
head.
NOFA that they released, the vast majority of their money has to go to Mills and Fremont County, because of their set criteria. Now, when I say that it hasn't covered it yet, is because they have not released the funds yet. The funds probably won't be released until September, October, November, that time frame. Right now, I think they're releasing the public comment's done, and I think they're releasing something in September. The applications will be finalized for them and all that good stuff. Now, I will tell you, we're working in concert with them to make sure that everything stays straight and narrow and moving forward, because they have the expertise on the funding, we have the expertise on the acquisition side of it. So they're relying on us as much as we're relying on them. So will they get the money? Yeah, there's no way that Mills, Pacific Junction, Fremont, and Hamburg isn't going to get some money. Because I think if I remember right, the last I heard, they have like 36 million to spend in just those two counties alone. Or some number, some extremely high number. So, yeah.
Okay.
So
See, that's an issue for us too. If we don't qualify or there aren't funds available, then our 15% would be an awful lot of money.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, we're looking at, well, it'd be 15% of the
But
2 million,
Did you
so.
submit that application for that CDBG money? You monitor that and keep us updated on whether or not we're gonna get any of that, Terry?
So, I don't necessarily 100% monitor it, but I do help out with it a little bit. I default quite a bit to Ann Smith over at EDA, who's been working on it. But we have constant lines of communication. So yeah, I can help assist with that process, but I will default a lot to her. But I'm more than happy if you're not getting a response back from them at some point, where if I reach out, then typically that pushes the conversation further.
So we're only looking at, if we're talking 2 million, I mean, somewhere between probably 8 or 10 houses.
There's about, there's probably 10 that are unoccupied.
10 that are unoccupied. Okay, it's gonna go off the river once. Stuff, and then I guess you start there and closest to the river and then go to unoccupied second or something to see where the list goes.
One of them on here is already off.
One of them's off?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll let you know, Terry, thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Terry.
Thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate it. Okay.
So what do we need, Matt, to say, you think, with this board motion? Or do we need a motion today, or do you wanna?
We had a decision in there just in case we needed to.
Do you wanna go back and kind of modify or reconfirm the list and lay that out for those people, the ones that?
I think if you all do the discussion and the decision on just the overall theory of we're going to look at from the river this way, then as a buyout philosophy piece of it, then I think that's would be enough for us. I mean, I don't even know it has to be a motion or anything like that, as long as we have just the guidance of saying that, yeah, we're moving in the right direction, then Pam and I will look at the list, reach out and contact the people we can, work with Terry to narrow it down and keep it within that funding amount and stack the rest of them on there. I mean, it's really about all we can do.
Okay, yeah, and I agree. The only thing I would say, if there are any of those that, tagged, I know in 11, we went out and actually tagged homes and said they're not livable.
Correct.
If there are there any of those that are I don't know, tagged as?
I don't think any are tagged.
We weren't involved in that process of this go round.
Oh, that's right.
The damage, we never did get the damage assessments to see where they were at.
They did that, didn't they? Homeland Security did that, didn't they?
Did
EMA did.
Yeah.
Okay.
EMA did those, and then that's what the assessor and I kept trying to get the damage assessments.
Okay.
We don't have damage.
So I didn't jump off. Hey guys,
Okay.
FEMA didn't tag the properties. We did a virtual PDA, so we didn't have to actually go out and look at any of the properties.
Right.
Oh, they did?
No,
Okay.
because the extent was so great that we used GIS as well as our aerials and our on-site guides to get the assessment done.
Okay.
So is that information available to Matt Wyatt, his department to go through?
Damage
That should it be? Yeah.
Nope, it's not.
What, I mean, is there a reason it's not, or?
It's never done.
Well,
So it was never done on a per property basis.
It was a
We did it
virtual.
As a whole, okay.
Yeah, we did it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we did it as a whole. Basically, what we did was we took the extent of the flood and factored in the parcels that would have been impacted, and the elevate or the depth of the water. And that's how we did our virtual damage assessments. It was one of a kind, and it actually worked out really well. So.
Okay. Well,
I'm fine with you moving forward with that, Matt.
Okay.
To take a look at from the river in and see which properties qualify and keep us under that 274. And come back and let us know what you come up with. And
We'll work on it. We'll get it done as fast as we can, so that way we can keep moving forward.
okay, cool.
Okay.
the thing I just, so that everybody knows, and I think most of you do, and, that property becomes county property into perpetuity. That's still the case, right?
We can't, and there's restrictions on what you can and can't use it for too, right?
Right, the majority of the ones we have farm leases on them from 2011, right? I'd say almost all of them have farm leases on them. A couple pieces went to conservation. And, they have those and manage those now. We had one or two, I think, that had firewood leases on them, where people went in and cut some firewood off of them. Once a year, we have to check them out. Once every 5 years, we do a bigger assessment on them, include photos and GPS points and.
I mean, it's pretty much green space at this point, right?
That's it, yep.
Yeah, and no tax.
Yeah.
No taxes.
The farmers were really good last time around, quite a few of the properties to where, they cleared the trees and did a lot of that, removal for us, and then they farm it now, so the majority of it's farm field.
I thought there was some caveat in the code that the regional FEMA director could release that.
I think they were working on something. I don't know that it ever actually ended up happening. I mean, we've reached out a couple times, I think, for Pam, cause, so on the one
Terry's
piece.
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ultimately, we've requested to have properties released in the past leading up to this several times from regional administrator, and I will tell you the overriding answer has been absolutely not.
Okay.
Now, we've had some communities that have and tried to acquire them back. Now, that has been addressed at some point, where there is a outside option if a community wants to acquire the property back, and by that I mean pay back the federal government all the money that went into buying that property. Typically, we've actually never had a community once that got floated, they just stopped talking about it. So we've never actually had one take us up on that.
Well, we submitted through when they were looking at one piece for like a shooting range. And we submitted that all the way down through
there's other options
to find out if that was gonna be an okay use of the ground, and they did say yes, for this.
Otherwise, if we had the opportunity to buy it, we know, let's say hypothetically, one of these landowners would be that purpose, we can just buy it ourselves before everyone else does, before they get it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move on from this topic. So you got your marching orders. Thank you for the presentation. Terry, thanks for joining us today. Next on our agenda.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Next on our agenda, we have Matt and Pam again. This is a discussion about reducing the number of members in the Planning and Zoning Commission from 7 to 5.
State code change that was effective earlier this year, and we had applications out. The state code change on planning commissions, zoning board of adjustments, meaning that they have to live within the area at the jurisdiction at which they represent, right? Putting us back to rural Potawatomi County. They can't live within a small community. They can't live within Council Bluffs. They have to live in rural Potawatomi County. That drastically reduced our population numbers that we can pull applicants from. And so on our last time around, going for the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Adjustment, both of those, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we really didn't get an application in. We kind of was a referral from Carrie Jensen, who had lost her position due to that code change, to a person that she knew. She talked them into applying for it. And then on the Planning Commission was kind of the same. We had the ad out there for Planning Commission members. We reached out to a number of people. Nobody really had interest in it. We finally did get Dolores on there, who, after some hesitation, even she came and met with me for a while before she submitted her application. But having 7 members and 7 seats to try to fill that commission is going to be difficult for us. So last night at the Planning Commission meeting, within their rules of procedure, was where it was stated, 7 members to 5 members. So they did change their rules of procedure down to 5 members, leaving them with a quorum then of 3 members. And we modified all the way through the references from 7 to 5 members and made those changes. That was the first update to their rules of procedure since 2000, January of 2000. And so that was a pretty good run on the changes. And then before that, another amendment was made in 1981. So it's not something that comes up all the time. And we did consult with the county attorney's office to make sure that since the Board of Supervisors appoints these members, was it a decision that the Board of Supervisors had to make, dropping that commission down to 5, and it was more just, we had to inform you what the planning commission was doing, so that you're aware of that.
Okay, so there's no action on that, and would that be the case? I assume it would be if the commission, the Planning and Zoning Commission decide to go back to 7 or to 9 or whatever, that's their purview?
Yeah, I think if there was interest from the community and kind of some topics coming up, the Board of Supervisors could probably meet with the Planning Commission and, say on these, maybe it's time to upgrade it, or it would come from a recommendation from my position on, hey, maybe we should upsize the size of the Planning Commission.
Okay. But I mean, it would be their doing and then them just informing us of doing that.
Right.
Okay. And then they have to follow and try to meet all the balance rules of a board then, I take it.
Gender balance, all of those pieces, yes.
So I know you got.
We have 2 women and 3 men right now.
Right. And then how, the thing is, we don't want to, I guess, burn them out. I hate to say that word, but we lean on these people pretty hard. We should continue to try to do some outreach, I guess, and try to keep some people in the hopper potentially.
We should, because, right now we have 1 planning commission member that actually also serves on our zoning board of adjustment, just because, it's difficult to recruit people to sit on those different boards and commissions. So
we need people still right now, basically.
We do, because really we should get Lynn off of the planning commission and have another member come on that doesn't have to serve on both boards.
Okay.
Right, we gotta take a short timeout real quick until Melvin gets back, so we're in order here.
Okay.
We don't have, by code, we need to have our auditor here taking minutes, so we need to just wait until he gets back and we can continue on. So,
Garfield will do it.
we're ready to.
Not by code.
When the auditor gets back, we will, but I'm not gonna keep going, we're out of order, I'm not gonna do this, I don't wanna get ourselves in trouble, so.
So we can keep that out there that either commission, keep that out there somewhere on the web or on the notice or pass it around the courthouse or something.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Come back in here?
Yeah, I am. Well, you didn't miss me?
Well, we gotta have an auditor to keep our meetings going, so.
Okay.
Okay, so Marilyn said she'll be right back. Okay, so Matt, thank you for the update on that. And Pam, because I know you said a lot. Next we have, on our agenda, we have Matt again and Pam again. And this is our decision on scheduling public hearing on the proposal to enter the development agreement with Armstrong Investments LLC and to approve and sign Resolution 74-2020, scheduling that said public hearing and to provide publication of notice thereof.
I'll make that motion for you, and we'll do it on August 25th at 10:20.
Okay, August 25th.
I think you're gonna try to do it the 18th.
Well,
I don't think this has to go out to does that have to go to all area papers, or can we get this just in the non-pareil?
But it doesn't have to be the 10 to 20 days.
Okay.
It can be 4 to 10.
What's
I mean,
that?
that's how I told, Eilers and Cooney, approval development agreement on August 18th is when they wanted the public hearing set
Do we
for.
need to make that publication to all the papers?
Yes,
Well,
but
then we
they
can't
don't
get
need,
it by
they don't need the 10 to 20 days though, is what I'm saying.
Oh, they don't? Okay, when do you
Or-
want it?
4 to 10,
When do you want it?
August 18th, please.
Okay, I'll change it to the
What's the
18th.
qualifier on the 4 to 10?
There you go.
It's just what they.
Is there a second?
Okay.
August 18th, 10 a.m. for resolution 74.
I'll second it.
Okay. Got a motion second, any other discussion?
This, this is not the, is there an agreement coming up there? What is that? Is that the-
We're just setting the public hearing, Scott.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
the agreement. Everybody should have received that, agreement. And Leanne, have you been able to review that as well?
Yes, I reviewed it. I believe you would have also gotten a separate email from Pam that included a letter from the attorneys.
I didn't, so,
You did not send that?
no,
Okay.
please.
Okay, the private
Thank you.
development agreement, that's what you're just saying, we're gonna, have
That'll be the focus of the public hearing.
the public hearing. Okay, there was, I thought it was that had some empty spots in it. Maybe it's, where's that at? Jason signed it already, I can see
We
that.
have to.
It has, on the front page, it has this agreement was made on the blank
Okay.
date. It has a blank date on there, but that'll be the 25th date, right?
Yeah, okay, so then, on exhibit C, there's some information that's gonna be filled out, I guess, prior to exhibit D and such, prior to or during the public hearing, is that what the?
Well, this is their annual certification for the RISE grant. So this would be, this is gonna say what we turn in for number of jobs to say that we got the $500,000 RISE grant, and then annually we have to certify the jobs that come into that thing to make sure that they meet those RISE eligibility things. It's due by October 15th.
Okay, that's
So
the,
Jason will have to fill this out each year and submit it to us by October 15th.
that's the C,
Yes.
okay. And then the D is,
So they'll have the date of the agreement in there,
yeah,
the August 25th on both of those two top blanket
Right.
items. And then on D2, again, there's a date that's blank, that's gonna be filled out as August 25th.
okay,
Justin Schultz will sign, Melvin will sign, notarize. Jason has signed, Pam notarized. So that covers all the Ds empties.
so do we throw that in a calendar then, that October, or what happens if he doesn't send that in each year? I mean, is there a recourse for what, the 500,000 or something?
It will be thrown in the calendar to receive that information.
But he has to do it, we don't confirm it, or we don't do it and have him sign it?
No, it comes to us.
Oh, it comes to us?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
All right, so we got a motion second, roll call.
Chairman Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisors Groby,
Yes.
Wickman,
Aye.
Belt,
all right.
Drake.
Aye.
And then Leanne had mentioned the letter that,
We'll make sure you get a copy of that. It's correspondence from council, so
Okay.
it's not public knowledge, but it pretty much outlines any concerns or things that the board should consider when deciding whether or not to approve the agreement.
okay,
Okay. Next, we have finance. Becky, you still on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we have Becky Belt, we have Matt, we have Pam. Discussion decision on scheduling public hearing on the proposition of the issuance of not to exceed 600,000 general obligation urban renewal bonds of Potawatomi County, state of Iowa for Central County purposes to approve and sign resolution 75, 2020.
So move.
Fixing the date, meeting provided. Okay, got a motion, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, got a motion second, any discussion?
So we need to,
John left, but did John certify that then? Are
We talked to John.
we all good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, motion second. Any last discussion? Roll call.
Chairman Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisors Drobey.
Yes.
Wickman.
Aye.
Trace.
Aye.
Belt.
Okay, next we have,
Can I ask that, I'm sorry, who was the first and the second?
Tim and then Marilyn.
Thank you.
okay, the next one is, to authorize and approve the chairman to sign engagement agreement between Allers and Cooney, with Potawatomi County in connection with the issuance of general obligation urban renewal bonds in the amount not to exceed $600,000.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion? Got a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay, just wanna grab the group outside real quick.
Justin, Pam has paperwork for you to sign.
Becky, I gave it to Melissa, and she set it in front of Justin.
And I signed too.
And you signed too,
And that
yes.
was for August 25th at what time?
Marilyn asked that we do, we had all agreed.
Okay. This is for the GEO bonds. August 25th at 10 o'clock, is that what you want to do on this, on the GEO bonds for 600 minutes?
10 o'clock you can't, cause we already had two other things, you gotta do 10:20, be the soonest.
At 10:20.
Yeah, cause we did 10 AM, 10:10,
Okay.
and now this will be the 10:20. So Marilyn, if you recall last meeting, you had asked that we bring this back to talk about it again this week, because last week all we had on it was a discussion. We did not have the decision authority at the time. So we brought this group back in to talk about the cameras and security systems, or whatever, at the courthouse and jail.
Yes, thank you, exactly.
So, and Becky, I think you mentioned that we needed to do something else with this.
Actually, you have provided yourselves the authority. So now it is, are you going to pursue the project? And the decision after that is how are you going to pay for them? You're going to pay out of reserves, budget, and or are you going to issue bonds? But you're covered and given the authority to issue bonds for any or all of these projects that you're discussing for the safety, the courthouse security, and the jail, the PLC. All of those public hearings are finished, final, and it's just whether or not you're going to include them in a bond issuance or not. The only thing I would do at this point, if you're still uncertain, but you're going to give the go-ahead for the projects to start, I would just say, give me a nod and I'll put reimbursement resolutions on for that safety net to pay ourselves back should we issue bonds. But now it's just, are you going to pursue the projects or not? Your authority to bond for it if you want to is done.
So, just quick question, Becky, just so I make sure I heard you right. So let's say hypothetically we wanted to make it so we could reimburse ourselves. Could Sheriff Danker use forfeiture, just hear me out before you look at me, give me a dirty look. But could Sheriff Danker potentially use forfeiture money to get the ball rolling and then we reimburse that with a bond fund? Or would it have to be out of our board funds?
Nope, it can be whatever county funds we desire to pay that out of. I would just want to make sure I get that reimbursement resolution in front of you to cover all these projects for just in case you do use any of our funds, whether it be forfeiture, gaming, general, whatever you pay it out of, to cover ourselves to pay ourselves back if we issue bonds for it. Yes.
That's a method. I'm smiling at you. I'm just saying it's a.
You're starting to sound like Tim a little bit.
Well, it would tie up your funds and not the board's funds, at least until it's reimbursed. That's all.
Fine.
Because you've been kind of saving that for potential.
Doable.
Building. I thought that might be a good way that we get this done and then put the money back in there, and it still allows us access to our funds for other things right now. That's a way. I just want to. And Sheriff Danker would have to agree as well, so.
The only thing I would ask, what the direction the board wants to do with this is, Maggie provided us a payback option on this, which turned our payback on this from a 3-year to a 5-year plan. And that's if we include all of the other projects that we've had public hearings on. Is it the board's intention to move forward with all of those other projects that we had public hearings on? Or cut it back? The 1.5 million or whatever it was for this.
I mean, I don't know, there's a undisputed need here. I don't think that there's an argument that we need to upgrade from analog to digital and get with the times. I mean, there's liabilities that are out there that would far exceed what this cost if something bad happened again, you know, so take that into consideration, I guess, as we talk about it.
No, I don't have any issues with that. I just want to know what the board's pleasure is to move forward with all the projects and move this to a 5-year payback? Or keep it a 3-year payback and cut some of the other ones out?
Well, like, which ones are you proposing to cut out?
I'm not proposing to cut any of them out.
Me either. I'm not cutting out
I'm
any
okay
of
with
them.
going 5 years, I don't know.
I like the 5 years.
You know, I don't think we have a lot of latitude. I don't know that, Maggie, the only question I would ask is if we had not known what things are gonna be like in 3 or 5 years, but if we had the ability to call it in 3, but I don't know that we'll get that option because we're only going 5, to be honest with you. So if we had the ability to,
Pay off early.
but it's gonna be, you know, I don't think.
If I can, sorry, Scott, if
No.
I can chime in, one option that, you know, when we're trying to balance levy rates and budgets, and one option if you have that 5-year, but for instance, maybe we don't have a call date, but we are needing to balance our levy rates, need some extra on our debt service other than what's scheduled, we have the ability, at least even with that 5-year out, to escrow ahead. So we can levy ahead and still at least though when those bonds, you know, when those payments are coming up, we can balance it that way and you can levy ahead. So
Yeah.
it's just another option.
No, I understand. I don't know, it's probably one of the better times to get this done. Madam Chairman, I'd make a motion to, go ahead and let's move forward with this with the 5-year bonding option.
Okay, got a motion?
And that includes all the other projects that we had in there?
Yeah, if everything else works. You know, unless there's something.
Second?
Got a motion and a second, any discussion?
I'm gonna put in the motion that Becky will bring us a reimbursement resolution.
Yes.
Also.
Hey, Becky, I just asked that, you know, as this moves forward, that remind us of that escrow option down the road, just so we don't forget about it.
Always. It's always on my mind when we're balancing those levy rates. So yes, absolutely. And I'll start preparing. We've already done reimbursement resolutions for all of the projects except for the last 2 public hearings we held. And I'll make sure that I'll get that in the works this week and get on the agenda. So we're covered either way.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carried. Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Does this give us the permission to move forward with our video management security upgrade project?
Yep.
Yes.
You just have to take it out of Jeff's fund.
Okay.
I'm gonna add one more thing while I
Couldn't
one more thing while I have everybody as an audience. So this goes for David, Jason, Jeff, Rob, Tiffany, whoever is submitting those bills. At the board's pleasure, whatever funds you're authorizing them to spend those monies out of, somebody email me and I will create a pre-bond expense count code out of that fund. So for instance, if it's just forfeiture funds, Fund 18, I'll create a pre-bond expense account code. That is what you'll use. Then we'll be able to, penny for penny, reimburse ourselves based on the account, the expenses that get tagged to those accounts.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is really gonna be a paper conversation.
But it's a lot cleaner if, there's probably funds, and I know Jeff's got funds, but, it's probably a lot cleaner if you, probably out of that, I think it's the land use.
Fund 19,
Is that where we put all
the
the money?
land improvement, construction, yep.
Probably a lot
I
cleaner,
also,
probably a lot
yep,
cleaner
I'm
to,
also prepared to do that.
probably a lot cleaner to do it out of one rather than having to,
Oh, you mean, so to cover all of them?
yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then just reimburse, I mean, I'm just, that's my comment, I'm just.
Yeah, my only suggestion to the whole, and one reason I went down that road is just in case, if, this is obviously a little over $1 million, so if we, for some reason, needed to access our fund balance to go spend $1.5 million on something else.
Right, no, I understand.
But, it does not, I have
But from a track and then.
doesn't hurt my feelings either way, however we do it.
Jason, what is it, 60, 90 days before you can even get the equipment?
It was about 3 to 6 week lead time on equipment. Yeah, the project could be starting the beginning of September.
I think we were gonna, I don't have that schedule in front of me, but I think we were going to sell those bonds this fall too, right? For all the projects.
Yeah, Maggie had a,
I don't have that schedule in front of me.
I don't think I have it here either.
I'm looking for it as well.
I think it was September, middle of September, middle to the end of September, I think.
Yeah, so we're right there, so, if we decide that we're gonna sell those bonds, it won't even affect any.
Yeah, we would have our bond closing and the day, based on Maggie's tentative schedule, if we stay on that schedule, we would receive our bond proceeds at the end of October.
You might have to make a payment.
Oh, we may,
Sale is
so we may have to
be
borrow
the
from
last
Jeff.
week of September.
It's for the jail anyway.
Yeah, who cares? It's not hard to do, it's not hard to do a resolution.
Well,
Okay.
We'll do the reimbursement
It's all on
resolution
paper,
to be covered.
it's all gonna come on paper, you're not really gonna notice it.
All right, I'll
move to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn, is there a second?
I'll second it.
You got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3, we're good.
She's got some cans.
Before everybody goes, I wanted to just throw this out here. I talked to